Namaste, everybody. My name is Avtans Kumar, and welcome to another episode of Rooted and Roaming, where we talk about issues that concern the Indian diaspora in the US. And we have a panel here of Amitabh Mittalji, Lalit Jhaji, Rahul Surji, and Deepa Karnikji. And this is going to be a very informal kind of conversation. So, in other than for going formally introducing everybody, I would like ask everybody to just go around the table and introduce yourselves for everybody's sake. Just briefly your name and what your background in, and if you have any social media handles that you want to mention. Amitabhji,
Namaste, everyone. Thank you. This is episode 3 for Rooted and Roaming. Uh, we are traditional Indian community here, and we have to go through the struggles of minorities here as non-resident Indians. And today's topic is going to be about how the minorities are affected by change of government, impact of certain ideologies. And we have, I'm very serious about this. So I think I'm giving a serious tone. Um this topic is related to what is happening in Bangladesh since the government overthrow and takeover. Um, so I want to hear from the experts who know about the subject and who are actually in the trenches working on getting the awareness to the public. So
thank you.
to,
Thank you, Amitji. Lalitji, next to you. Can you give us your brief intro, please?
Yeah, Dhanyavad, Avtanji, thank you for inviting me to your show. I'm Lalit Jha. I am the editor North America for IANS, Indo-Asia News Service. I also run a newspaper called India Abroad from Washington, D.C. I have been a journalist for last 25 years here, of the 17 years with the White House, accredited the White House. I have covered the Indian diaspora quite extensively from 2009 till now. And I know how the community reacts, what the issues of the community are. I've been reporting about them quite extensively since then.
Thank you. Rahul Surji, welcome to our show. Can you introduce yourself?
Namaste ji, very happy to be here on this occasion. My name is Rahul Sur. I am a former IPS officer from India. I was in Maharashtra for many years, including a deputy commissioner of police in Mumbai. I also worked in the United Nations for about 23 years in the New York headquarters, in Haiti, in East Timor, with extensive experience in Africa and Middle East and Europe. So the point of view which I bring to this issue is that I know the issue of human rights very well. I know the institutional mechanisms in the United Nations, and currently, I'm working with Hindu Pact and in Hindus advancing human rights. So that is the focus and angle which I bring at it from the point of view international human rights law.
Thank you very much. Deepaji, welcome to our show. Can you introduce yourself for everybody's sake?
Dhanyavad, and thank you for inviting me. I am the General Secretary of Hindu Pact, as you can see here on my background. I also am the Executive Director of the project Hindu Vote with Hindu Pact. I'm a volunteer in addition to my role as a General Secretary. I'm also the Director of the Hindu Dharmic Center at Rutgers University, which was established recently. And I'm here in my capacity as an individual citizen, an American citizen speaking, and not as an elected official in my town. So I need to give that disclaimer as well. So I bring the perspective of advocacy to this particular issue, and the issues that I'm seeing on the ground. And I'm really happy to be in this esteemed panel to talk about this very important topic.
Thank you very much. And my name is Avtans Kumar. I am a freelance journalist, columnist, write for several magazines and newspapers, and I'm a trained linguist. That's my background. As far as education goes, I live in Chicago area here. So Deepaji, I'm going straight to you. And let's get to it. So while we are talking about the issues of Bangladeshi Hindus, give us a perspective, some background of where it comes from. And as everybody knows, it's an old issue. It's not that just sprung up. It has a historical perspective, somewhat rooted in the partition of India and beyond. So, can you put this into perspective specific to Bangladeshi Hindu issue?
Right. So as you rightly pointed out, Thursday, I completely agree with you that this is a decades long issue that has been simmering, sort of under the hood, if you will, for many, many years. And, after the change of the after the change of the recent government and, after the Yunus regime came to power, this issue has boiled over really, in disproportionate sort of ways, and we are seeing the violence spilling out on the streets, etc., and that's what's coming out now. I think we're at a point where we can't afford to be silent anymore about the plight of minorities in Bangladesh. That has been simmering for so long. And I think here we are, at sort of a tipping point, if you will, in that particular conversation where we want to make sure that we are here highlighting not just their plight, but also some tough actionables for the international community to take note of. And during this conversation, we will also bring about some of the actual work that we have done on the ground to highlight the situation and the plight of minorities in Bangladesh and how did we get here. I will turn it over to Rahul Surji, also who's worked extensively on this issue. He'll provide some more insights as well.
Yes, thank you, Deepaji. Rahul ji, coming to you, as rightly Deepaji said, can you give us some human rights perspective into this issue? We know that the persecution has been happening in that part of the world for a long time. What has the international community done for this or not done for this?
So, from the human rights perspective, I think it's very important to look at Article 3 of the Genocide Convention of 1948. And basically, they talk about, when there is an intent to destroy a community by various means and to destroy it wholly or partially, that is something which amounts to genocide.
Mm.
Now, in this case, what has happened is since 1947 and then the terrible events in 1971, the Hindu community of Bangladesh has been first at the receiving end of West Pakistan when it was a minority, when West Pakistan was discriminating against East Pakistan. And then when the events of December
For
19...
everybody's, sorry to jump in, just everybody's perspective, Surji, when he's talking about West Pakistan, we are talking about the Islamic Republic of Pakistan as present.
Right, exactly, which was split into two parts.
Yes.
So they were discriminated against when they were East Pakistanis. And when Operation Searchlight started in 1971, they were specifically targeted out for horrific violence. Hindu men, for instance, they were examined whether they were circumcised or not, and they were killed because of that. There were graphic accounts by the then U.S. ambassador out there, Arthur Blood, in which there is a book called The Blood Telegram, which I suggest everybody reads. But what happened after 1971 is equally problematic because we in India and Indians seem to think that the country was very grateful that we gave them independence. That may have been for some time, but that gratefulness evaporated and an anti-Indian, anti-Hindu sentiment took place in this. So we in India thought that everything is going to be fine, but the atrocities against Bangladeshi Hindus continued even after 1971, and the records are full of that. So, from the point of view of their geographical and their numerical decimation, the international community has done very little. So, we have seen the same decimation of the Hindu community in Pakistan, in Afghanistan, and also in Bangladesh. And this has been very, very well, documented by various people. There is the Blood Telegram. We had Taslima Nasreen. She had written a book, Lajja, We had Dr. Richard Benkin. He has written this book called Quiet Case of Ethnic Cleansing. There is Professor Shachi Dastidar. There is Professor Renita Mojumdar. All these people have done yeoman work. But it's very sad to say that the ongoing genocide and the ethnic cleansing of Hindus in Bangladesh has never received the attention it deserves if human rights have to have any meaning. So by that I mean the United Nations, and I was recently analyzing the United Nations reports as to how many mentions there are. I had a look at the 2023, there's something called the Universal Periodic Review. Now, that is an examination of a country's human rights record before the United Nations. And there was not a single mention of Hindus. Now, when I went to the Human Rights Watch website, you find sporadic mentions. They have written a letter to Muhammad Yunus, but again, no mention of Hindus. Now, unfortunately, from the point of view of the Indian government, I think that they have not been as imaginative, as forthcoming, and as proactive as they should have been. And there is a sentiment amongst Bangladeshi Hindus that there has been a prioritization of the economic interests over the human rights concerns. And consequently, remember that they have been fleeing in large numbers to India, which accounts for the drastic drop of the population, in addition to the fact that they have been discriminated against at the societal level, at the institutional level, and also, most importantly, by ordinary people who think that they are second-class citizens.
Mhm.
So therefore, we are in a very, very grim situation where the plight of the Hindus and the extent of their desperation is certainly not reflected at the international level.
Thank you very much for this elaboration. But before I turn the floor over to Lalit ji and Amit ji to either ask questions or put their views, either of you, Deepa ji or Rahul ji, can you put this situation into some numerical perspective so that we have an idea what we are talking about? How many killed? Do we have any data on that? Either rough data or just any authentic data? Like, what are we talking about?
So the data actually is pretty authentic, and we have got reports. We have got official reports from the government of India in which they talk about 2,000 incidents, anti-Hindu incidents after the fall of the Yunus government. They have also been, of course, there has been some recognition by the Bangladeshi government, but which is much lesser than the actual numbers. So therefore, the United Nations also had been invited by the government after the fall of the government to have a look at the events, what happened, and they had used language like systemic discrimination. They talked about Hindus, houses being burnt, temples being burnt, and also the expulsion of Hindu intellectuals and professors from their jobs. So therefore, we can certainly dredge up the precise numbers, but the ones which were given by the government of India are more than 2,000. But at the same time, the terrible events like the blasphemy, the killing for the fake blasphemy allegations, of recently of Dipu Chandra Das, gave a completely different dimension. It is just not one man killed; it is the huge impact of fear which it sends in the Hindu community, which really is defenseless. And I think the time has come to realize for the Hindu community that an attack on Hindus anywhere is an attack on Hindus everywhere, because we have to draw the lessons from Kashmir, where an ethnic cleansing took place and everybody was sleeping. We cannot allow this to happen again.
Thank you.
So Aftanji, just to sort of give whoever's listening in sort of a perspective, in 1971, we were approximately 13% of
We
Hindus
meaning
were.
Hindus, right?
Yes. And today it's like less than maybe 7 or 8%. So that begs the question as to what happened to those Hindus, right? Where did they go? Why was there such a steep decline of Hindus in Bangladesh? Also, there are reports of almost 230,000 Hindus who have fled Bangladesh and taken refuge in India and other neighboring countries ever since 1971. So there must have been such attacks that have been continuously happening. There are low-grade random attacks happening on Hindus on a daily basis over the last 7 decades. So this is, and only today, in the last couple of decades, as social media has really brought out some of these incidents to the fore, which we didn't know. We were relying on newspapers or some. Even today, the news that is coming out of Bangladesh, and I have personally spoken to some of those Hindus on the ground, and they are really mortally afraid for their lives, right? They don't want to speak up because they fear backlash. And you can imagine in today's day and age, when the truth can reach millions of people within seconds. You post something, it reaches people. Even today, they are afraid for their lives. And something to think about, right? If like Deepu Chandra Das brutal murder in broad daylight was broadcasted all over the world for
Can
everyone to
you
see.
can you just please briefly describe what exactly happened? Not into gory detail to scare anybody here, but can you just briefly describe what happened to him?
Yeah,
Because
so the
it's a
reports were,
very,
yeah.
very troubling story.
No, it is not. It is troubling, ghastly, and it's so brutal that
Yes,
it can shake the conscience of any decent human being.
right.
From the reports that I read and from what we heard from the ground was he was a garment worker in a factory, in a garment factory, and there were some alleged claims of him making some blasphemous statements, which were to the effect that all religions are the same or something to that effect, and that kind of snowballed into either an argument or a debate about that particular statement. And and he was then sort of mobbed by by a bloodthirsty mob. And then even the police, there were even last reports that came out and video footage where even the police did not protect him, and he was literally handed over to to a bloodthirsty mob, for the lack of a better word. And then he was beaten up, brutally beaten up, stripped naked, and then hung to a pole or a tree in the middle of the town, and then burnt alive.
Yeah,
We are talking about this in 2025.
folks in the U.S. will see some similarity in the kind of things that were done
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it is. I
in the
mean,
South.
I can tell you for sure that it was each time I opened X, I had a message saying, graphic image, viewer discretion, graphic. And it was, I mean, it was really, really like heart-wrenching, horrible to see a human being in a civil society being, and where is Yunus regime's statement on this? Where is we just tokenism.
Yeah.
I
And this
have
is, and mind you, this is not the Amitabh ji. We know that this is not the only murder that has come out of Bangladesh in the recent times.
I just have 2 points. I wanted to take it back to Hasina government going out and Yunus, and then the atrocities on minorities happening. And Yunus was interviewed on CNN. And in that interview, he said, come to the police, come to us as a Bangladeshi and not as a Hindu or Christian or minority. We'll protect you, all Bangladeshis. And then 3 weeks later, this would happen with the Chandras. Um, the uh, um, the silence on media, in Western media specifically here, um, on some such a horrific event, and you working in the background to generate the awareness on this issue. How do you feel about the Western media's quietness on this issue? Both, I mean, Rahulji or both want to take it, because I know it's frustrating, but I want you to express that frustration so we can get this message out to the media in general. Say, hey, why are you silent? This guy was tied up to a pole, handed over by the police, which is supposed to protect him, to the raging mob. Where is the media on this?
So I
Your
think
perspective.
the media is, in fact, really failing in its professional duties because it is supposed to report, fairly and factually. And you have the journalistic basics, for instance, who, what, when, where, how, and when. And they absolutely ignore this. So my analysis of media says that they resort to three things. when it comes especially to Hindu issues. One is omission, the second is distortion, and the third is fiction. So in this case, you have omission. Now the question is, now if you remember, the New York Times had done an article on this, but then they go immediately to the equivalence and the attacks on minorities in India. So therefore, it is relativized in the sense, oh, well, there's really nothing to see out here because that is what is happening in the entire region. But the fact of the matter is that there has been a precipitous decline in the population of Hindus in Bangladesh, there has been no such precipitous decline in the case of minorities in India, which is exactly the opposite. So there is a narrative-based reporting on this. Whatever fits into the narrative, they will report. What will not fit into the narrative, they will not report. And that is not only the case with the New York Times, but all Western major media outlets. Once in a while, you will see somebody reporting, but it disappears. I was looking at Deutsche Welle, Radio France International, all these. But at the same time, Hindus are at a discount when it comes to human rights, and we have to understand the brutal reality, and we have to respond according to that. We have to figure out ways, how we can get this, because that is what is confronting us. The biggest thing is media silence, media complicity, and we cannot expect anything from them because it is a narrative-based enterprise.
Thank you. Lalitji, I'm coming to you, but I'm going to ask you the same question because you have covered the international media for decades now here, especially in the US now. What is your take on this issue before you get into asking other people questions here?
Look, the American media looks after their own national interest. We cannot be expecting them that in journalism, the media will be protecting or speaking about India's or Hindus' national interest. We shouldn't be expecting that. You see the trend, what Western media has covered India since 1947 till now. Look at how it covered the 1970 war, how it covered the last year war with Pakistan, how it covered 62, right? How it has covered when India should have been the poster boy of the West because we adopted a modern democracy, Western outlooking democracy. We adopted universal franchise. These were all revolutionary steps in 1947 to 52, whatever, which our founding fathers took it. What the Western media portrayed us. It's a countries of poor people, snake charmers, naked fakirs, no clothes, right? So to expect from them any justification and rationality while covering India, I don't think I shouldn't be expecting that. The role comes here for the Indian media and the people who they raise awareness, fight it out for that, right? That's my response would be for that. I don't expect much from them.
Do you have any questions for our panel?
Yes, I do. What do you see? The elections are coming up on February 12th in Bangladesh. There has been a lot of issues and concerns about the freedom, fairness of the elections. What are your thoughts on that? And next question would be about Jamaat Islam. A lot of people are raising questions about concerns about the rise of Islamic fundamentalism in Bangladesh. How do you see that portion?
So if I can address that issue, the fact is that the Awami League is not being allowed to participate in the elections.
Mm-hmm.
And that itself means that you cannot call it a fair election when one of the principal parties has been barred from it. Now, they may have a particular grouse against Sheikh Hasina, but to ban a whole political party and then say we are going to have elections, if you have a look at the document which we have written, which is a visible manifestation of the determination of many Hindu organizations here outside, which we have said, and we have called that, we have written to Marco Rubio in this, that there should be no.
Where can we find that document, sir?
That document, we can give it to you, certainly. That document, you can have a look at that.
Okay.
It's got actionable items in that.
Okay.
So
if you have a PDF file, can you send it to us
Yeah,
and
please
we'll
share
ask.
that.
I'll share it. Sanjay, I have it.
yes.
Okay.
So now that's one thing. So the exclusion of Awami League itself makes it undemocratic. Now that leaves us with the mix of parties which are inside. There is UNOS, then there is the Bangladesh National Party, and there is a rising influence of Islamic parties. which are to a large extent contrary to somewhat of the secular ethos of that country. For instance, they've tried to ban women's sports. They have wanted to do away with music teachers. Jamaat-e-Islami out there has said that we do not want to have non-Muslim parliamentarians. So these are the people who were actually against the breakup of Pakistan, and now, even though they are numerically small, they are obsessed with this idea of this caliphate. So we can expect a very, very troubled election, and we can expect that the results are not going to be definitive in terms of settling the variety of issues which the country is facing. And consequently, India as the proximate geographical power has to be, very, very, concerned about this, because not only are the Hindus being affected, but the continued instability in the country is going to create far greater problems. In addition to having, impact on possible links to international terrorism, we have had significant, examples of terrorism in Bangladesh. So, in terms of elections, I'm afraid they are certainly not going to be, fair. And I was working with, some colleagues from Bangladesh, and it has been that story for a long time. So do not expect anything new.
So did I just hear you saying that, so this is kind of like repeat of what Ziaul Haq came into power and happened, that he barred everybody else from running any elections, and Pakistan turned into true Islamic nation. So are we seeing the birth of another Islamic nation happening here, rather than walking away from the rules of secularism and democracy, which were very like just token there, but now it's going to be completely taken away? That's your take?
Well, it certainly does not look good, because there are several historical strands in the country. One is the quote unquote the secular stand, the ethno-nationalist stand, the linguistic stand, the principles on which they fought their, war of independence in 1971. What are the constitutions they adopted after that? They were secular, then they decided they're an Islamic country. So that tension has always been there in the country. And with the rise of these Islamic parties with very radical demands, that is not going to be settled. So you can expect a continued disruption of the country's internal political atmosphere, which will obviously have an impact on its economic profile. The two main pillars of its economy, which are the export of garments to Western countries, and also the participation in United Nations peacekeeping. So I think it's time for the international community to understand that you cannot have free elections if the principal opposition party has been banned. Imagine if that were the case in India or in a Western country, there would be an international outcry, but they seem to be getting along quite fine. There were recent reports in terms of US diplomats talking about cozying up with Jamaat-e-Islami out there. So it does not look very good at all, considering the history of the country and the proclivity to violence and to fanaticism which one sees out there.
Okay. Thank you. Deepaji, before we go, one last thing. Can you just briefly tell us what's going to be happening in the next couple of days? There are some events planned out. Can you tell us more about it? And also, if people are interested, how they can reach out to you?
Yeah, certainly. Thank you so much. So I just wanted to address one point that Lalitji also mentioned, is that we are here today, Avtazji, because of the help and the platform that people like you and Amitabhji have provided to this particular panel. We bear a lot of responsibility to bring the story of Bangladeshi minorities, especially the Hindus, and what they're suffering today, to the world. To that effect, what we have done is we really need to take action, because what we are doing is we are discussing amongst ourselves, expressing our frustration, and we thought there was time to do something really more concrete. And I'm happy to sort of, in a very bittersweet way, to let you know that the global community really has come together this time, because they are also feeling the frustration and the lack of international support to have a fair and free election in Bangladesh, as well as highlighting the plight of the minorities, what they're suffering for the last n number of months, what's going on. Even if half of this, or even one third, or a small percentage of this would have happened in a Western country, I can assure you that there would have been protests on university grounds. There would have been there would have been an international outcry, which is completely missing in this case. So what we have done is we drafted a collective of all global organizations who are supporting this particular cause, and want to make sure that the minorities in Bangladesh are protected, have come together collectively. We have written a letter which has specific asks from the UNHRC, from the Secretary of State Marco Rubio, from some important heads of states, as well as the government of India, where we all want everybody to come together to look concretely into action items and what they can do in order to protect the minorities. So that letter will be signed by 100 global organizations. We have right now currently participation from multiple organizations in the United States, prominent individuals, authors, scientists, doctors, judiciary, some representatives from there, from retired judges, and major Hindu organizations, as well as allies of Hindu organizations that have come together from UK, from New Zealand, Canada, Australia, Singapore, India. So we have a wide global diaspora that's coming together. We are going to be soon, we'll be publishing this letter along with all of the signatories and their names. And on January 31st, a global, a protest has been organized all across. There are multiple cities in United States that is going to hold this rally, the silent protest, to highlight the plight of Bangladeshi Hindus. And we want the global community to take notice of what's actually happening there. And we need to lend a voice to the Bangladeshi Hindus. So that's what's happening. And also in Washington, D.C., some organizations have organized a congressional briefing. I request everybody to participate in that as well. But we really need to come forward, and I unfortunately, we are in such a situation that we have to now make sure that we pull the weight of all our allies as well as our network to come together to speak for Bangladeshi Hindus who are really, really in a very, very bad spot.
Thank you very much. Incidentally, we are talking about Bangladeshi Hindus on the day of Holocaust Remembrance Day today. So it's special significance here. Where can people find this information? Is there a website where they can go and do some activism there?
So right now there is a WhatsApp big group that has been organized. More than 700 people are a part of it. I'm happy to share a QR code, for your viewers. After, maybe you can put it in a link of your description where
Sure.
people can join and they can sign up for the silent protest. If you are a Hindu organization or an ally of Hindus, please make sure that you give us your support on the letter that is being addressed to prominent heads of state as well as the UNHRC. Please lend your voice to Bangladeshi Hindus. They really need our help and they are crying for support right now. And we have to do what we can.
Thank you very much, both Deepa ji.
You want to mention your URLs for Hindu Pact and all that to get involved?
Yes.
Yeah, so anyway, I mean, you can Google hindupact.org and land up on our website. I'll make sure that we put the link of the letter as well. I have to, all the partner organizations have signed up. We will soon be publishing the list as well, because it's a dynamic list right now. People are signing up every single day. And we are going to have at minimum more than 100 organizations coming together. So that speaks a lot for the support that we have all received for Bangladeshi Hindus.
Yes, thank you very much for coming here, and thanks everything you guys do for the Hindu community. Thank you. Namaste.